the thing about the year 1999 is it is considered one of the best years for films in modern times. This year saw some of the greatest movies, some commercially very successful movies, and some critically acclaimed movies, and some movies that are both critically and commercially successful. And some of the best cult movies are also from 1999. And even if you don't count the popular ones, you pick any obscure movie or any indie movie from 1999 and there's a high chance that you will love it. The year itself was like that. Such is a movie, Ravenous. Ravenous is a horror movie from 1999. Though I think horror movies are two types. One is with those horror elements that scare you, terrify you, and in a way they entertain you. And the other kind of horror movies, they make you uncomfortable, they stay with you, they make you think, and they force you to question yourself, and not in a metaphorical way. They have to be the horror genre. And Ravenous falls into that category. It's a Western movie, it's a horror movie. It also works as a comedy, satire, and also as a social commentary. This plot is about Captain John Boyd, whom we meet in the beginning of this movie. He is being promoted from a lieutenant to a captain, and this is his promotion party. Everybody is having a good time, whereas Captain Boyd, he is disgusted, especially looking at the food. This is during the American-Mexican War in mid-19th century, and he had single-handedly somehow taken control of a post in the enemy line, and he is held as a hero and being promoted. Having seen war up close, now he is disgusted by the sight of blood. At least that is the assumption we get. He leaves the place, the things gets over, and later we find out that apparently this guy, this soldier, Captain Boyd, is a top tier coward. And what happened in the war is he had given up his arms and he was playing dead and he was left for dead. But accidentally, the way he was placed at the bottom of a pile of dead bodies, he had no choice but to drink some trickling blood. So this is a grotesque visual also in his flashback. For some reason, he doesn't die. He gets some strength from all those blood consumption and he releases himself and take over the military post. His seniors come to know about it, and because they are also disgusted by his cowardice that caused so many deaths, they decide to send him away to a different place which has nothing going on. A handful of men are there who are also kind of demoted in the similar manner. While he is trying to settle down there, there is this guy one day who shows up disoriented, disheveled, and hungry. They take care of him, and when he is ready to talk, he tells this horrible story. He was part of a small band of travelers. They lost their way and they ran out of their food and they started eating each other. Especially, there was one person in the group. He becomes very violent and very hungry for more meat, human meat. And when there are only 3 people left in the group, including this guy runs away. Of course, there is this Native American guy in the team who tells the story of Wendigo. Wendigo is this mythical character. It's kind of a monster, but not exactly a monster, but it is the man who eats other human and turns into a Wendigo. He keeps eating, he gets hungry, and his hunger is insatiable. That is the story. Everybody is very confused and very shocked to hear this story, and they decide to go find the remaining 2. And when they reach there, they find out that it is this guy. He was the real culprit and he had originally killed and ate all of them. And now he has started showing his real version and the story completely changes. Now, this is the overall plot. Anything else that I say would be more like spoiling or taking out the real fun part of the story. Though this story doesn't depend solely on the plot itself or the twists, this is more of a conflict, the inner conflict of the human when they are given the choice whether to save themselves by eating their fellow human or not. So there is a huge conflict there. Now, talking about this film, why nobody knows about this movie and why this has not worked. When I read about it, the production, I realized that this movie as if it was not supposed to be made, because if you see the writer, the star cast and everything, they were just starting their career. Guy Pearce is in the lead role, Robert Carlyle is there, and they all had one or two renowned movies from outside of Hollywood. The screenwriter himself, who later became a renowned writer, but this was his first script. So it was kind of a risky investment for the studio. Producer Laura Ziskin, she was accused of micromanaging this thing. And after two directors were fired, one of them was a reputed award-winning director. Both were fired, and then Antonia Bird, Robert Carlyle's friend, was brought in. And praised to be her, she successfully finished it and gave us this product that we see today. Even though the final product was not under her control and the studio still did some alteration here and there. The marketing was also messed up, and a lot of factors, because new faces were there. Everybody knew, the media and the gossip columns were already laced with this movie's budget constraint, production hiatus and everything. So people were in a way not interested in it. And the year 99, as I said earlier, it was already giving some of the best movie. The Matrix came that year. But then, how did this work and how did it reach its current status? How is it a cult movie now? I don't have an answer for that, but I think there is a difference between horror movies made by men and horror movies made by women. In horror movies made by men, the monster and the scary element is literally that scary element, literally the monster. But when it is made by a woman, most of the time, I'm not saying all of them, but when a woman is making a horror movie, the horror element is not just that element or that creature or that monster. They are using it as a metaphor for something else. Because in their story, even when they are telling the story of womanhood, a monster is not the scariest thing in their story. I'm just saying the way since last couple of decades, all the horror movies by women I'm seeing have more than the horror elements to offer. With Ravenous, I think director Antonia Bird was given this messed up script and messed up half-done materials. She had this job to complete it. I think that is why she made it in such a way that this movie can be interpreted in multiple ways. This movie, even though it talks about cannibalism, it can be interpreted for drug abuse or power hunger. If we draw a parallel with modern society and how the consumer culture has become, how it is eating away people from within. It's like giving a delusion of power and acceptance and validation. The story can also work in that way. It is same with drug addiction and social media addiction as well. And in this movie, the most thrilling scenes, and there are many, they don't involve blood and gore. That doesn't mean this movie doesn't have them. This movie has some disturbing scenes here and there, but they are not the main point. Those thrilling scenes are human, the human conflict and human argument, because at some point Boyd is given a choice to become this full-time cannibal, and he's being convinced by this charismatic character brilliantly played by Robert Carlyle. He is giving him the reason why he should be, why survival of the fittest should be accepted. He's really thinking about it. And it is also this age-old moral story of good versus evil, where this coward guy must make a choice and stick to it. The performances are great, even though these lead actors were starting their career, but there are also very strong supporting character actors there. And all their performances are really convincing. The cinematography, very beautiful, scenic photographs are there. Although I felt after some times with the story, it changes. It becomes more raw, gritty, and more grounded. I'm not very much into the technical side of the music, but this music is very minimal. It sounds very old and very melancholic. If you're a vegetarian and you love horror movies, watching horror movies involving blood and meat and gore, you might like this. The director, Bird, she was a vegetarian and she had made sure all the meat dishes look grotesque, dirty, disgusting, and unhygienic. I think that is intentionally done. Of course, there are other movies about vegetarians and cannibalism, and I suggest you check them out as well. But this one, Ravenous, this is a must watch. If you are a fan of Western movie, dark humor, or satire, social commentary, or simply horror movie fan, You must check it out.